Hello and welcome to the Daily Climate Show. Coming up. After the fires, the drought, farmers already struggling with a lack of rainfall are worried. Thousands evacuated as wildfire blazes out of control near Yosemite National Park in the States. And Reading FC unveils its new strip, complete with global warming stripes. Welcome to the Daily Climate Show, where we track the changes happening to our world, hear from those affected and report on the race for solutions. And we start today with concerns that the record high temperatures we experienced last week might be setting us up for a summer of drought across England. Now, the dramatic images of fires across the country over the past few days, and well, this is the aftermath of the fires in Surrey yesterday, and they've added to fears of water shortages. Now, a dry spring and early summer have already reduced river and reservoir levels, pushing much of the country into prolonged dry weather status. Now, whether or not we reach the technical definition of drought, the extended dry conditions are already causing serious problems for farmers. Caterina Vitozzi is in North Yorkshire for us today.
This is a 300-acre hillside farm in North Yorkshire. Typically, this isn't the sort of location where water is a problem, but the farmer who works this land and rears sheep and cows says he can count on one hand the number of times it's rained significantly here since spring, and the impact of that on the land is grass and pasture that looks like this. It's absolutely bone dry. There's barely any new growth, and typically you'd expect grass at this stage of the year to still be around this height. And the impact is that there is very little for the flocks and the sheep and the cows that graze this land. There's very little for them to eat. And the farmer Keith Stone's been describing the sort of impact that has on his livestock, but also his livelihood.
We can't grow the grass that we need to feed the animals. We're really struggling to grow enough crops to make crops for winter for the animals to eat. And there's nothing now for the animals when they're needing extra for the autumn time. There's nothing for the lambs when we take them off the mothers. The rest of July and all August, two of the driest months still to come. So it's not as if a shower rain's going to put things right now. It's a long time before we're going to get the autumn rains that will probably correct things. But by then, you know, it might be too late for feeding the animals for winter.
This is a fifth-generation family farm, and Keith Stones, who you heard from in that clip, says that he cannot remember a prolonged dry spell like this since the 1970s. And really, whether or not this prolonged dry spell turns into an official drought is somewhat insignificant for patches of ground that already look like this. The grass is beyond saving, it is already dead. But what will be key is whether there is enough rain in the next few weeks to enable new planting, for new grass to be able to germinate and then grow, because that is what will go on to feed livestock over winter, and for many farms will be the difference between making some sort of profit this year and not.
OK, let's get a bit more of the day's climate news now. And in Greece, firefighters have contained a wildfire on the island of Lesbos after 3 days, while a heatwave continues across much of the south of the country. Fire warnings remain in place and national parks have been closed to the public. At the Deer National Park in the northeast of the country, authorities are trying to contain a wildfire that's been burning for 5 days. Now, the world's first ever heat event to be named has been detected in Spain's fourth largest city, Seville, just a month after the naming scheme was launched. Now, authorities have warned that heat wave Zoe could bring temperatures of up to 43 degrees Celsius today and tomorrow. The scheme to name heat waves in a similar way to severe storms was launched to raise awareness of the dangerous effects of heat on human health with a 3-tiered category system. Reading Football Club has shown off its new home kit that integrates climate stripes and is made from recycled plastic bottles. Now, each stripe represents the average temperature for a single year. So shades of blue indicate cooler than average years, while red shows years that have been hotter than average. Now, the stripes on the Reading FC shirts specifically track climate change in the cities across the full 151-year existence of the club. Now, a wildfire near California's Yosemite National Park has forced more than 6,000 people to flee their homes and has already burnt more than 15,000 acres of land. A combination of droughts, climate change and overgrown vegetation increases the chances of fire spreading rapidly. Now, the start of the wildfire season comes as more than 85 million Americans are living under excessive heat warnings. That's across the country. Now, according to the US Drought Monitor, more than 63% of the country is currently abnormally dry. That's affecting cattle, of course, and crop produce. And in California, those conditions have exacerbated wildfires across the state over the last few years. Now, while the blaze near Yosemite is not yet under control, officials now say firefighters are making progress. Sky's Sally Lockwood reports.
4404. Branch 1.
Californians live with the fear of these fires every year.
Have an ETN or get them in when you'll be in this area.
But the scale of this one in Mariposa County marks an unnerving start to the wildfire season. On the doorstep of Yosemite National Park, home to some of the largest and oldest trees in the world. The fire has ripped through a handful of rural homes and businesses, but threatens thousands more and remains out of control.
They came by about 15, 20 minutes ago and told us that everybody's got to go. About 4 o'clock, the power went out, and the fire's been coming towards us faster and faster.
A huge evacuation order is in place. More than 6,000 people have left their homes already as the fire travelled at frightening speed, spitting out embers that fell as far as 2 miles away. This wildfire comes as a record heat wave is sweeping the United States, with heat warnings and emergencies declared in several states.
Everything that's burning in the fire is extremely dry. We know that California has been dry the last few years and has gotten drier. We just ask that the public be patient if their neighborhood or their community has been affected by the fire. It will take a little while to notify them if their residents have been affected.
Climate change is driving the ferocity of these fires, the intense heat and worst drought in decades fanning the flames. But so far, America has found no political consensus on a way forward that will do anything to prevent more of this in the future. Sally Lockwood, Sky News, Washington.
And before we go, is there anything you want to know about climate change? What confuses you or mystifies you? We'll scan the QR code on your screen right now to submit your questions to us, and we'll do our best to answer them. Or you can go to any of the Sky News social media accounts where you can add your questions in the comments. So get in touch with us. Well, that's all for now for today. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.